Thank you so much, Joseph, for joining us here at the Dwellynn Show. I really, really appreciate your time. I'm super pumped to have you on the show because your story is so unique, and I can't wait to dig in.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here. Wonderful to meet you.
Awesome. So, Joseph, do you want to? I'm sure you can do a way better job than I can. Do you want to tell the Dwell listeners a little bit about yourself and kind of what you've been up to lately?
Sure. I'm Joseph Snyder. I am the CEO of Lannister Holdings and Lannister Development. And we are a publicly traded US-based blockchain and technology development company. Our internal focus is on building tools and systems for syndicated real estate finance, utilizing blockchain technology, smart contracts, and some token use cases, what some people might call crypto tokens. And then externally through Lannister Development, www.lannisterdevelopment.com, we are a full stack client-facing blockchain development company. So we are working with scoping projects for clients in manufacturing, swarm robotics, government, fintech, insurtech. So there's a lot of interest in the space and a lot of disruption coming from what we really believe is Web 3.0, the next generation of technologies that take all of this siloed data and centralized systems and distribute it and allow people to transact contracts and inspect systems with distributed ledgers.
Wow. So I'm one of those people, right, that when I hear of crypto, I say Bitcoin. Like, what is this Bitcoin? What is this cryptocurrency? What is this new thing? And is it a fad? Is it here to stay? Are we going to totally get rid of paper money? I'm like, I've got like a billion.
That's a lot of questions.
Crypto questions. Yes.
So first of all, let's talk about that. Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency, so it is its own blockchain. And I don't think it's going away. I don't think that it's a fad. With that said, I am not a crypto guy. I know lots and lots of them. I understand their viewpoints. I respect their viewpoints. We build those technologies. That's a lot of fun. I'm a business person. And at the end of the day, I take very large risks sometimes. Taking a company public is a large risk. Being an entrepreneur is a large risk. Playing real estate investment games are large risks. But I'm not a speculator. And I feel like a lot of what's going on in the crypto token markets especially is a lot of speculation as opposed to strategic investment. I believe that currency is digital now anyways. Most of the money that you have in your life is not sitting in your mattress. So the question is where is that currency based? And what is it based on? It is not, is it digital or is it physical? That bridge has been crossed. The US dollar is a digital asset, right? When you're staking your money at Wells Fargo, when you open a checking account, they're not taking your stack of $100 bills and putting it in a section of their safe and then coming back and handing it back to you when you want to use it, right? You're essentially staking it with the bank. Betting that bank will be there tomorrow and relying on the FDIC to backstop that in the event that there's a run on the bank and your money isn't there, right? So currency is digital. That's a foregone conclusion. The question becomes, should the transaction of value between people be controlled and centralized and balanced, managed by central government organizations or the appearance of central government organizations, right? Because at the end of the day, the Federal Reserve is not a government organization, right? So that's where that kind of conversation goes down the road. However, we are not a crypto company. We are a technology company. And Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, all of these true cryptocurrencies are uses on a kind of technology called blockchain. Okay, and blockchain is a ledger. It is a secure distributed ledger that says this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. And each one of those next steps is a hash of the previous step. So they are immutable, right? You can't have a new one without the other one being correct. And it's also running on these consensus algorithms that say, It's not just one person's computer saying, yes, this data is right. This one and then this one and this one. It is dozens or hundreds or thousands or however many different computers all coming to the same conclusion at the same time saying, yes, this is correct. So you have a distributed system, you have a secure ledger, and you have a consensus algorithm so that you don't end up with siloed decision-making, okay? That is the blockchain technology. Now, that technology was really crafted and developed in order to create these cryptocurrencies for many, many reasons, of which I don't know. You know, somebody someday might show up and actually be Satoshi. I have no idea. But at the end of the day, we are looking at these technologies and saying, hey, that's really cool. And that applies to how contracts get validated and transacted. That applies to how a corporation's data can be compiled and analyzed and used securely and transparently, right? And quickly. It also applies to logistics and military functions and taxation functions. And all of these functionalities don't necessarily have to do with how do I pay for something today, right? They have to do with how do I inspect what I expect inside of a transaction stream that's already existing. Insurance is a great example. Insurance companies have massive amounts of disparate data, right? And they have millions of contracts that all have if and then clauses, right? If you pay me your premium and I say you have coverage and then you get in an accident, then we pay this claim out, right? And so blockchain allows for companies to execute those types of contracts and to deploy those systems, those data systems, in the real world today, in real time, at a lower cost basis, with less risk, with more security and more transparency. And at the end of the day, that's a great business case.
Wow. I mean, I'm like totally blown away. Yes, I have done some reading on cryptocurrency and blockchain, but the way you've unpacked that, you know, for our Dwell listeners, I'm sure somebody's going wow somewhere in their car or at the gym right now. I really, really love that. So before we jump back kind of to you and kind of why real estate, just a quick question as well. So if I'm a, I don't know, 40-something-year-old, you know, man or woman, and I have some cash set aside, I know you've kind of touched on it a little bit, but if I have some cash and I'm thinking of investing in any of the, you know, cryptos or to invest in real estate, what would you say to that person?
I would say nothing to that person because I am not an investment advisor. And as the CEO of a publicly traded company, I have to be very, very, very careful what I say. So I would have to say nothing to that person. I will say this: do your research, do your due diligence, and have an idea about why you're making an investment, because there's a difference between an investment and speculation. Okay, speculation. I go to Vegas. We do business there. Our publicly traded company is actually a Nevada corporation. So we are based in Phoenix. We're an Arizona company. We fly the Arizona flag. We wave that banner around. There's a lot of reasons for that. Blockchain has a very solid legislative background in Arizona. There's a lot of legal reasons why we operate out of Arizona. Blockchain signatures are legal in Arizona, which means a person can sign a blockchain contract and it's legally binding, enforceable. But I go to Vegas and I sit down at a blackjack table and I put $20 on the blackjack table. I'm speculating. I am speculating that the cards that I get are going to be better than the cards that the dealer gets. Now, the math says that I am wrong, right? At the end of the day, after a 10-hour window, the math is stacked against me by a few fractions of a percent, right? So it's pure speculation. An investment is when you sit down and say, I understand the risks. I understand the costs. And the return on investment, the known projected ROI, outweighs the risks and the costs. And it out-earns where else I could put my money, right? That was why real estate in 2001, 2002, when I started making my money in real estate. I was young, I had no idea what I was doing, and I was extremely lucky. And I thought I was smart. Turns out I wasn't. But I was lucky and it was timely, and we made a lot of money. We had a lot of fun for a few years, and then the crash happened, and then we lost a lot of money and we didn't have a lot of fun. And so that's how things go. But that lesson was invaluable to me as a business person. And we have continually stayed with our fingers in real estate forever since then. Our family actually has a real estate brokerage in Phoenix. We have a property management company in Phoenix. Our internal focus for Lannister on building these tools, specifically for syndicated real estate finance, is because of our experience in real estate, and because we see an ease of entry to a market that's really scaled, right? Let me find the easiest way to get there that makes the most money. Let's do that, right? And also, because we chose to be publicly traded, because we chose to execute a reverse merger, acquire a company that was already public and merge into it, that's how we went public. We needed a conversation that people could understand, because I also have a background in risk management. We built an insurance business over about 8 or 9 years, almost a decade. We exited that a few years ago. At the end of that, it was operating in 32 states out of our nation. And if you've ever had 32 regulators at the same time, don't do that. But it was a great time, and I have a background there. But the minute I start talking about insurance as a go-to-market vehicle, people go to sleep, right? So there was a tactical reason for us to say, real estate's a little sexy, and everybody lives on it. And so, everybody has insurance, but we all kind of hate it. Real estate we live on, so we have an emotional attachment to it. So there was some psychological factors of our go-to-market strategy around these particular pieces for us as an internal focus. But for Lannister Development, again, LannisterDevelopment.com, Lannister Development is focused on fintech, insurtech, logistics, government, and healthcare as our 5 core verticals, right? And that covers just about everything. I mean, that's just broad swath, right? But it's because these tools, these technologies, these systems, these deployments, they affect all 5 of those verticals in very, very, very similar ways. They all have complex logistics. They all have interconnected contracts. They all have large data swaths, and they are all heavily existing monetized. We're not necessarily going out and saying, hey, we're going to help you build the next thing that nobody's ever heard of. We're sitting here and saying, there is billions and billions of dollars of opportunity sitting in existing infrastructure, existing business systems, where they can reduce costs, they can reduce risk, they can add transparency and clarity in real time in the real world. And so there's a clear ROI benefit to a corporation looking at and saying, all right, we need to invest X number of dollars into technological development, and then we get X number of dollars in cost savings, X number of dollars in revenue generation, X% of risk mitigation. That's a very basic math problem for a C-suite executive to look at and make, and then be able to make a financial commitment to a technology development, right? Which is what we want them to do.
So that's a lot. That's a lot, right? So you had this experience, like you said, in 2001. You had some fun, and then you had a crash, and then you still kind of stayed on from a technological angle in real estate. But I really want to rewind back to those days.
Okay.
Why real estate, right? You could have done anything else. Why did you choose real estate? And specifically, what did you learn from going through that cycle of the boom and bust?
Why real estate? Why real estate was, I sat down at my kitchen table. I was a manager at a car dealership. I worked for Toyota. I was young. I was probably 21. At that stage of life, quite successful for that stage and doing well. And I just knew that there was money in real estate. I just had a feeling. And so I sat down at my kitchen table at the time, and I circled all of the foreclosures. And true story, the very first one that I circled was the very first one that I drove to, and it was the very first one that I bought. And, the universe opens doors when they're supposed to be open. And so it just worked. And we made a lot of money very, very, very quickly. And 6-7 figures, of profit in under 5 or 6 months, right? So it was a 0 to 1 like I had never experienced before. And the mistake that I made leading up to that was I treated the real estate windfall market, which is what 2003 to 2006 was, as if it was a business environment, right? And it was not. It was a bubble economy fueled by bad credit loans. And I was too egotistical, and I had too much hubris and stupidity to know that or even consider it or let alone admit it. And so that led to a very uncomfortable 2007 and 2008. And what I learned from that is when the universe opens the doors, slow down and pay attention. And when things are going absolutely perfectly, awesomely well, spend a moment and make sure that you're not asking the wrong questions, or that you are asking the right questions. And, have people surrounding you who are smarter than you and who can challenge you and who are willing to force you to stop yourself sometimes. And that's really, really valuable. And it was a great lesson for a young entrepreneur to learn. It was a very hard lesson. And, like I said, after that, we scaled risk management businesses. We've done mergers and acquisitions. I never kind of lost my entrepreneurial edge that I know some people do when they have a 1-0 kind of failure. But it was a tough time. And, I stayed away from real estate for a few years when I probably could have been buying. I remember some of our family was picking up condos in Phoenix for $7,000 or $8,000 a piece.
Wow.
Just all day long. They were sitting on the market now. I mean, nobody was buying anything, right? 2008, 2009. And I didn't act then. I was so gun shy about it for probably until 2010, really. And I just focused on things that felt a lot safer, and risk management felt really, really safe. It was a very steady kind of income. I mean, yes, we were the entrepreneur. We owned the business, all of those risk factors for sure. I don't necessarily do well sitting in somebody else's office, but actually I don't do well sitting in any office nowadays. And that brings us to another point. We are a decentralized operation building distributed technologies. And what that means is we are 100% remote work organization. And we started that way. So we do not have an office anywhere in the world. All of our staff, and as far as I know, we're the only American publicly traded company that's world-class talent. They don't have to move. They don't have to go somewhere. They don't have to live in a specific city. We're based out of Phoenix, but I live in California. I'll be in Phoenix this weekend. I'll be in Phoenix next week. I was in San Francisco last week. But, we have the ability to bring people on from all over the country, from all over the world, to join our teams and work with us. And they get the lifestyle freedom of choosing when they work, right? They get the lifestyle freedom. The expectation on the Lannister teams is that as an agile company that runs on a scrum, that runs scrums, and we don't just run scrums for our development teams. We take that ideology, we take those systems over to our business side. And so our entire business runs off of Scrum. So you get remote work. You get to work when you want. You work when you don't. If you want to work at 2 a.m., that's totally up to you, as long as you can hit your deliverables, right? The minute you start not hitting your deliverables, now we have a problem. And so we've built a culture that supports that. We've built systems and teamwork and, all of the tools, Jira and Asana and Slack and, all of the tools that we have implemented. Our development strategies and corporation are all built around a GIST framework. Which is a beautiful operating model from Google. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but check that out. That'll blow your mind.
Right. We use Asana as well. It's a remarkable tool.
It's a remarkable tool. And so, all of these tools and technologies exist to allow us to run an organization at full speed, compete with the largest companies in the world, and hire the most amazing talent in the world, and have an incredibly low cost of operation. So it's a good setup.
I can just picture, see a C-suite or a CEO listening to this of a really bureaucratic, large, Fortune, 50 company, and just like pulling their hair out. Like, what? You're letting everybody work from home? It sounds crazy, right? So I love what you said about, just building that financial, just like that lifestyle freedom, of where people can work whenever they want. I think it's a new concept, and the world is definitely shifting, in a new direction. So I think that's really fascinating, actually, to hear that. So if I'm a client, right, or if I'm someone listening to this, how can Lannister help me, right? Let's say I'm an investor, or I'm a small business. I mean, what exactly do you guys do, and how can you add value to my business?
So first and foremost, I like to use for true consumers, I like to use the example of a cell phone. We all have a cell phone. We all know that we can open it, we can make a call, we can click on Angry Birds, we can pull a little red bird back, it flies forward, it kills the green pig, okay? We all know that that works. But at the end of the day, how that works is actually magic to most of us, right? There's maybe 1% of the world that actually knows how that works. So blockchain is very similar to that, in our opinion. It is a core-based technology that is going to run the systems. It is going to run the processes. It is going to run the contracts around our lives all of the time in the next 24 to 36 and 60 months as things scale out, okay? From a consumer standpoint, we're publicly traded on the OTC market under the ticker symbol NBDR. That is a shameless plug, but we are. And you can go on E-Trade, and if you do your research and you like what we're doing and the things that we're doing, then you're welcome to buy our stock there. And we love our stakeholders, and we greatly appreciate that. Other than that, we don't currently really do anything that's consumer facing. The work that we do is with businesses who are have multiple locations and are looking to deploy systems internally, who are logistics companies, finance companies, insurance companies, even companies that are looking to do startups, people that are looking to do security token offerings or ICOs. We definitely do those kinds of things. But for your normal day-to-day mom and pop business, there's not a whole lot that I would be able to offer on a Tuesday, okay? With that being said, we see that the people that we do want to talk to are people that are running corporations that have multiple locations, corporations that are doing lots of amounts of contracts. Law firms have a lot of use cases. Insurance has a lot of use cases. And then on the other side, we have, and right now this is specifically in the state of Arizona. So I know that that's kind of a niche market, but we have the master limited partnership for syndicated real estate finance that we've pretty much got to a point where we're ready to deploy it, right? We've been building out the pieces and building out the tools and identifying the systems and processes on a smart contract with token use cases, doing an MLP in the real world in Arizona. Because of the blockchain sandbox law that's on the books in Arizona and blockchain signature in Arizona, we are able to deploy that in the state of Arizona in the real world and have it be legal, right? And so that's really, really interesting. So for that, we would say if you are a real estate finance syndicator, if you are a packaging guy who is putting investors together to buy an apartment block or to buy a skyscraper, and you want to be the first guy to market with one of these technologies, we would love to partner with you. We are not interested in being the packaging guy. We are not interested in going out and raising another investment group and buying a building and doing all of that. So, we are looking for those partners. We have a lot of conversations going on with different parties around those spaces. Absolutely. And so that would, I don't know if that answers your question.
It does actually. As a syndicator myself, totally does answer my question. So, I mean, as much as I would like to keep going and learning so much about cryptos and I'm just sucking it all in. And we're definitely dwelling into the quick round now. So these are going to be quick questions, quick answers.
Okay.
You ready, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. First question. What makes Joseph Snyder unique? What is that differentiating factor that separates you from the next guy or the next girl?
I don't consider what other people think. It's actually strange to me that people do, to be totally honest with you.
I love that. That's a good one. Short and sweet too. Second question. What was the last book that you read, and what was the one thing that you learned from that book?
I just read it on the plane to San Francisco on Thursday and then finished it on the way back. It's about a 2-hour flight, and it's a book I've read multiple times and listened to multiple times. It's The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. And the thing that I took away from it this time, because it's always something different, but the thing that I took away from it this time is stop looking for angels and start looking for angles.
That is so good. That is so good. I really like that. All right. So final question. So you've got landing stuff going. You've got a bunch of stuff happening. You're flying. You're doing all this really cool stuff. What do you do for fun?
Okay, let's run the fun list. I have 2 huskies, Oakley and Willow. So I love my dogs. We have 2 pygmy goats, Oreo and Storm. So they eat my grass and provide manure for the gardens. I do love my gardens. I'm a crazy gardener. I am in California, so I grow all the things that the rest of you guys can't grow also. and we skydive, we scuba dive, we climb Mayan pyramids in Guatemala, we scuba dive with sharks in the Bahamas. We are very, very, very conscious about lifestyle by design and doing this in a way that is very, very fulfilling. But the thing I would say the most that I do for balance and fun is yoga.
Love it. That's a good long list. Love it. So if I'm a Dwell listener listening to our conversation and I'm like, wow, I really like this, Joseph guy, I really want to connect with him. Where are you most active? How can people reach out to you?
So Twitter, at Lannister CEO, at Lannister NBDR, at Lannister Dev, all on Twitter. LannisterDevelopment.com is the development website. And then obviously myself, Chris, our CTO, Cynthia, our COO, we're all on LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you so much, Joseph. I really learned so much. It's very fascinating what you guys are doing, and I can't wait to and perhaps see what we can do together in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a wonderful day.